Sam, right here, please.
A touch to your left, please. There it is.
And gentlemen, to your right, please. Together, to your right.
Just like that's love.
All right. What was that?
We look like thank you very much. And back this way, guys.
Kids with dreams and no sense of reality and survived, and we're here. Those are the kind of moments in a life that you just don't get over.
So without any further ado, enjoy the show.
Thank you.
I always get a little nervous when you have to show a film here because in many ways it's like bringing something home to the family.
Yeah, it's shot in Toronto, but you're trying to make it look like New York. I said, yeah, that's great. You know, that's not bad because the city's like an actor.
Premiering a movie that took me 20 years to make in front of 2,000 people makes me want to cry.
I mean, there was a time that I can remember when people said, well, film will die. It hasn't and it won't, and it's great.
It's now my pleasure to welcome our moderator for today, Eric Kohanek, and the director, writer, and members of the cast for the film, Mr. Right.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the final press conference for the Toronto International Film Festival for Mr. Right, an exuberant action comedy romance. With us today, we have the film's director seated next to me, Paco Cabezas. Next to Paco, we have Sam Rockwell, who takes on the title role of Mr. Right, aka Francis Munch. Next to Sam, we've got Michael Eklund, who takes on the part of Johnny Moon in the movie, one of the thugs that Francis encounters. And last but certainly not least, we have Max Landis, the screenwriter who wrote the film. Mr. Right is a festival gala presentation. It's having its world premiere tonight at the Princess of Wales Theatre and Roy Thompson Hall. Paco, I'm going to start off the questioning. If you have a question, we have volunteers with microphones. Put your hands up. We'll get a mic to you. I'll start it off by directing it to you, Paco, and to Max. I seem to recall that this project was originally talked about in 2011. What took so long for it to get to completion?
Well, that's how.
Yeah, you go.
Well, that's how movies, a lot of movies, especially a movie like this, which is sort of a unique tonal movie, that's how they get made, man. I mean, Mr. Right was actually, if we're being completely candid, which I always am to my chagrin, it was the first script that got me noticed as a writer because it was a very fun read. But it came out before Bridesmaids, and the big note on the script that we got a million times was, women don't want to see women do things that aren't glamorous. No one wants to see a slobby woman. And we get that note from like producers, and it would be like, most of the women I know who get drunk or have problems or are train wrecks love stuff like that. And so then Bridesmaids came out, and it became an actual conversation. And honestly, I wrote it, the weirdest thing is I wrote it for Sam. I wrote it because everyone's watched the Sam Rockwell dancing YouTube compilations. And I was like, so the film inspired by Preston Sturges, musicals of the 1930s and 40s, and Sam Rockwell YouTube compilation dancing.
That's amazing.
It finally found a home, which was very, and once I met with Paco, I sort of knew it was going to get good quick.
I forgot to mention Anna Kendrick, who's also in the movie, of course. Unfortunately, couldn't be with us today. For those of you who follow her on Twitter, you know that she had a bit of a travel drama today, and she's right now driving across the border, making her way here by car. She'll make it here for the red carpet tonight, so you guys can grab her then. Sorry to interrupt there, Papa.
No, it's totally fine. No, it's like the minute I read, it's like when I first came to Hollywood, I was reading I read like 300, 400 scripts. And they were sending me a lot of scripts with bad Mexican guys. I don't know why. They thought it's like the guy was always like, I used to be a Green Beret. And then they kidnapped the wife, and all the Mexican guys are trying to, very bad. It was terrible. But that was the first script that I read. Was like, this is me. This is so great. I want to do this. It's my sense of humor. And there is like such an emotional connection with the characters. And this is, and it's true. When I read it, I also saw Sam. So it was like, I saw you. I saw you. So, I know, there's a love fest, but whatever, guys. It took a while, but we are so proud of the movie because I think when you try to do something different, when you try to do something unique, it takes time, and good things take time, and we did it with a lot of heart and with a lot of balls. Can I say that? Yeah. Cojones. Is that okay? With a lot of cojones, and we are very happy with the movie and that it's playing tonight.
Well, Sam, maybe you can talk a bit about how you came into the picture then.
First of all, thank you, Max, for writing this, and that's very nice. That's incredible. And Paco, love you. I'm gonna molest you later. I met Paco. I read the script, and I was like, wow, this is great. And I think my manager Elise read it too, and then I met with Paco, and we loved it, and we tried to put it together, and we met a while ago. Yeah, we met a while ago in New York.
Do you remember that day? It was funny. Maybe you don't remember, but we met like in the street in New York, in Soho, I think, and there was like this little granny, like a little old woman, woman, and then she had like groceries, and then all the groceries went to she tripped. And then you came and helped her, and it was so cute. I thought, this is like a setup
act.
Or something?
Yeah, it was set up. Yeah, it was set up. Yeah, it was just...
He can't be that adorable. That's not real. But then I found out you're that adorable. So, sorry, keep going. My bad.
It was all set up. No, yeah, and then we talked about girls, and when Anna's name came up, it was like, wow, that's the perfect. She's the perfect person for this, and then it came all together. We got Michael. We got all these amazing actors, and our stunt team was amazing. Kevin, James, Lou, everybody was amazing.
A lot of the stunts, man. You know that, right?
I did.
Well,
we have to give Zach some credit. He did take some tumbles down the stairs. Definitely, Zach. But yes, but it was fun. We had a lot of fun.
We have a question over here.
Harry Roberts, the next take on Super Channel. My question's for Sam. This movie feels like it would play on a good double bill with 7 Psychopaths. And I would like to ask you, in playing these off-kilter characters who do have this emotion, who do have this real sensitive quality, just maybe talk about your approach to make these guys so likable in a lot of ways.
I think you just have to play it for real and sort of do it with conviction and not try to send it up, I guess, I kept thinking of Grosse Point Blank. I think we talked about that, and that was, or even MASH, for some reason, was a reference for me. But Grosse Point Blank is probably the best I've ever seen this trick I'd done, in the past, right? I mean, I think that's the genre. Or Romancing the Stone is an ideal prototype. But you got to play stuff for drama, and then if it's funny, it's funny. I think. Play at high stakes. I think so.
Another question down here.
I really enjoyed watching what you did with Anna. You both just seem to be so much in your element. There's a wonderful energy there. What was it like working with her, and how much kind of like looseness was there in that kind of give and take?
Well, she's got great comic timing. She's a really fantastic actress and definitely an amazing comedic actress. So she's very quick, and she's very sharp. So it was a really, and I came in kind of like a bull in a china shop, and she was like she's like super quick. So it was a really nice dynamic. It just kind of came together immediately,
Michael, maybe you can talk about, you had some scenes with Anna as well, and first of all, talk about how you came to the project, and then the chemistry that Anna exudes whenever she's playing with anyone.
Yeah, I found the movie just like probably everybody else did. Read the script. I worked with the producers before. Met with Paco for a lunch.
Great time with you, buddy. Yeah.
We had lunch, and he
we had a
told me about
connection.
the movie. I think I paid for the coffee.
so gay. Sorry.
Did you guys get really drunk or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember.
Did he save any old women? What if everyone you met with during the pre-pro in the movie saved an old woman during the...
Like, what's wrong? It's so weird. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Michael.
No, that's about it. And then we found ourselves in New Orleans shooting this film, and working with Anna was great. You know, she's, like Sam said, she's very sharp, she's very quick. My stuff with her was towards the back end, so I had a few weeks to warm her up, because I was playing one of the bad guys, and so I wanted to have a lot of fun with that scene. And you know, when you're doing that kind of physical stuff, you know, there has to be a partnership, you know, you have to trust each other. So I had a couple weeks to win Anna over, so I could do my thing.
She's a good mover too. She knows how to. She knows how to move.
Yeah.
Very,
I was very surprised because at first, oh shit, is this a spoiler or something? Be careful.
We haven't talked about Tim Roth either. Tim Roth.
Okay, so I'm gonna be careful. I wouldn't say.
I will say this.
Okay,
once I saw it, I was like, oh, I should have had her do more stuff the whole time.
She does stuff in the movie. Can I say that?
Yeah, she does. I tell you.
Sorry, was that? Gives it all away.
It's my second movie coming out this summer where a woman is kidnapped and then doesn't get saved and just deals with it herself.
No, but I remember it's like when she was like doing all the choreography and she was preparing the stuff. I was working with you that morning, and then I came back and she was with Kevin and with James Liu, and I thought it was going to be something small, and then she showed me what she had prepared, and it was huge, and I'm like, okay, so we're doing all this? Okay, that's cool. And she's really, really talented. You know, her moves is like they were like dancing into a script, like your moves.
She's a singer too, so she's got a sense of tempo and timing and that a lot of that.
Can we talk about your moves a little bit?
Oh well, you know, I'm just a ham.
No, but it was funny because I remember we had such a great time like preparing the fights with you, and it was such a. And
it was really fun. I mean, we didn't have a lot of time. Kevin and
that's
James
true.
really whipped us into shape. We had no time. I mean, we had the budget. I mean, we didn't have the time you'd have for like Mission Impossible.
Oh no, we were shooting really quick.
It was quick. It was precarious. You know,
Mission Impossible shooting.
It was kind of it was pretty much impossible.
But I love that. You know, we came up with these crazy moves and these crazy ideas, and I remember showing it to you, and you were like, "Oh yeah, why don't we add like this move or that move?" And I'm like. Michael Jackson kind of like, and I'm like, oh yeah, sure, let's do that.
Watching it was
well,
so
you kind of wrote
crazy.
that. You wrote a dancing, fighting machine.
The joke of the movie, if you haven't seen it yet, is that it is a 1940s Gene Kelly musical comedy, wherein all of the dance and song numbers have been replaced with fight scenes. And I thought that's a fun archetype for the movie.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That is sort of what it is.
The bad guy is just the other man who takes her away.
Yeah.
And so it certainly looks like that. But in the script, I wrote that every time he fights, he's so good at it, and he's such sort of a happy guy that it's like, fuck this, I'm just gonna la la la, like dancing through it. And when I actually saw what you guys created, watching it, because when you write, you know, you're just behind a computer and you go, and then he kills 50 people.
Oh yeah. I know. I remember reading that thinking, you motherfucker. It's like, how do you do this? I remember I was watching West Side Story. I was watching a lot of movies thinking, how do you do this without being ridiculous and stupid, you know? And then I started watching like Harold Lloyd and old black and white movies, remember? And the things that Harold Lloyd was doing almost 100 years ago, they were amazing, you know. And we were looking at those movies and looking at Muhammad Ali and you know, and we found. I hope, or that's what people are saying about the movie, that we found that element that makes him look great when he dances and fights. I think.
Yeah, I was getting competitive with my stunt double Zach, who moves incredible. And he's a lot younger than I am, obviously. So I was but your ego gets involved, and you're trying to like, you know, I can do that. I can do that.
That fight.
You can't do that, but let Zach do that. But
you're
trying. You really want to do that.
That thing you do, you open your legs. How do you call that?
Yeah. Oh, the splits. Yeah, the splits. That I can do. Yeah.
No, you can do it. It's funny because I show you a
I'm not
fight
gonna fall
scene.
down the stairs.
No, but
Zach fell down.
But I remember showing you a fight scene, and you were like, "That's great. That's awesome. Can you show me that splits like in a wider shot so people know it's me?" You know?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, man, I did it. I want people to know. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I gotta cut it quick. You know,
Zach, man.
I can keep it like lingering there. Like it's Sam Rockwell. See, Sam Rockwell.
Question down here in the front, Bruce.
Bruce Kirkland, Toronto Sun. Actually, I think you guys have partly answered my question already. And it's in regards to what's funny anymore. Because personally, I don't find most Hollywood so-called comedies particularly funny. So what can you put into humor, and you've already done it, what can you put into humor that makes it funny in a interesting and fresh new way? And maybe you might want to start, Max, but also Sam, because you're a funny guy. You've been funny, droll in other movies. So this takes it even more extreme. So Max?
Well, the truth is, I'm just the writer. A lot of my scripts are fun to read because they're a very specific tone, which isn't really done much anymore. And although I'm not 100% why, where my sort of role model is Shane Black, and I love sincere, fun action that's not too dark with characters who you want to watch. I mean, Ghostbusters is just a science fiction movie that happens to have funny characters in it. But it's a science fiction movie about the end of the world, except for it's these guys. And, you know, for Mr. Right, I wanted to do a movie about people who suck, like, who are crazy and meet each other and go like, you're my person, and then slowly find themselves in an action movie. And it's all, I find most humor in films, you can do really great humor. I would never call my writing like fresh or original or funny, although you should. If you feel like being charitable, you know, for Mr. Right, the joke of the movie is that the movie is not a joke. Is that if I told you what the premise was, you'd go, well, that sounds kind of like Grosse Point Blank, but also kind of like True Romance, but like kind of a million things. And I'm like, yeah, it's that, except for it's a cartoon. And everyone's silly the whole time. And it's actually a pretty great date movie, is what it turned into. And I have the classic rambling, nothing answer. But I think people are afraid of risks. The more risks you take, the more you risk stuff, but the more you'll end up getting too.
Sam, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, he wrote a very particular tone, and it's really, you know, and the words neurotic and vulnerable are sort of, are like kind of like, they're sort of poo-poo words these days. I don't know, people don't want to talk about stuff, but like to an actor, those are good words, you know, and that's what propels that kind of comedy or drama, I think, is that seed of neuroses or vulnerability about these two characters, you know, like Kathleen Turner in Romancing the Stone is a very neurotic character, you know, so it's and it's funny to watch, you know, and sometimes poignant. So I think that's what propels that kind of thing.
I mean, in my opinion, it's like if you're trying to be funny, it doesn't work. You have to be true and honest. And Max Landis is the most honest writer that I have met, you know, in many ways. You know, his writing is honest.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse, it's true. And this man is the most honest actor I've met, you know. So I think when you're honest and you try to do something, you just don't try to be funny. It will be, you know, in the end.
We have a question in the back, or in the middle here, and then one in the back. Go ahead.
Andrew Parker, Toronto Film Scene. This question is mostly for Sam and for Max, but anyone can chime in. It seems like after Die Hard, we kind of lost our way in terms of wanting to have action heroes that have a real sense of vulnerability, especially in films where the main character is a hitman. And I think, Max, with American Ultra, and with this one, you've given major credence to an action hero that can be vulnerable and be very awkward.
And been punished for it.
Yes, exactly. And I was wondering, what is it about action heroes and vulnerability that people seem really scared of? Because I think that's what
That's
I like
an interesting question,
a lot about
yeah.
this.
I think that's...
I have a take. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead,
or?
you go.
Well, the truth is I've never written an action movie. I think I've sold a couple of scripts that people would call action movies, but if you've seen my stuff, I mean, if you saw Ultra, if you've seen this, if you've seen Chronicle, I don't write movies about archetypal characters. I write movies about characters who would probably work in other movies too, and don't necessarily need to be in an action movie. If you know what I think really killed the vulnerable action hero, oh gosh, I'm scared to say this, but I think 9/11 was right around the time guys stopped getting hurt in movies. And I like Channing Tatum. I think he's a good actor. But there was definitely a rise of this is the type of character that's in an action movie. There weren't any Ghostbusters anymore. There weren't Marty from Back to the Future. Suddenly it's the cool kid is in the action movie, is like in the teen movie. It's about being cool. It's not about being the loser, the nerd, or the underdog. And in our action movies, that became a trend to a level that's insane. Like, I mean, in Jurassic World, Chris Pratt, a guy who trains velociraptors, they go, yeah, and he's a former Marine. And you go, you think back to Jurassic Park and you go, archaeologist, mathematician, archaeologist, lawyer, guy who wants to run a theme park, 2 kids. Those are the main characters. And we lost the thing, even Independence Day. If Independence Day was made now, it would be 2 military guys up in the ship. Jeff Goldblum wouldn't be there, all that stuff with his dad. We got scared of looking like losers. And I think most of the best movies in film history have starred people who, Sam's a really hot guy, so saying he looks like a loser is not true. Eisenberg's hot in person too, but I think trying, and this is, God, if I say this, they're gonna quote, Max Landis says he's the only person who writes vulnerable characters. Put a gun in my mouth. But trying to write a more vulnerable hero, I think makes a more interesting story, and I think we will move back towards that eventually.
That's a really interesting theory. I think that we are, lacking Indiana Jones, and he'd get hurt, and he'd say, "Ow," or whatever. He was vulnerable, and that's what makes Harrison Ford incredible, and in the Fugitive, and he's a very vulnerable. He's scared. Those heroes and anti-heroes are scared, but they go anyway. And I think that's an important a factor that's missing.
Hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember we were talking about that. That was hard to get the balance. It's like, how hurt can you get without getting too dark or too violent, and keep the light tone? And that was the most difficult thing.
You were really great about trying to get that tone, and make him, because we've created this kind of super assassin. But at the same time, we wanted him to be human, and that was very important.
Yeah,
so
it's like, how do you get shot in the face and still look cool?
Yeah, how do you, exactly, there you go, man.
How do you get shot in the face and have it not be gross?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good question way in the back.
Gloria Scola, ABC National Newspaper, Spain. Well, hey. Congratulations, first of all, to Paco Cabezas and everyone for Mr. Right. I have 2 questions, one to Sam Rockwell and the other one to Paco. Yesterday, Paco, you were telling me that I asked you, who would you like to work with? And you said Sam Rockwell again. So my question is, well, what's the most...
I want to work with Paco again.
So my question is, do you have to like the actor or the director as a person in order to work well with him?
Wow, okay.
And secondly, well, Paco's from Spain, so
Not always, right? It helps.
It helps a lot. Yeah, sorry, is there a second part of the question?
No, there was another.
No, I mean, funny enough, every actor that I've worked with, I had a great relationship with that actor, with Nicolas Cage, with you, with Anna. I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I don't know what would happen. For me, when I met a person, in 5-10 seconds, I get a connection or I don't. And lucky enough, when we met in New York, when I met you in LA, when I met you in LA also, you just get a connection and you think, this guy's like my friend from childhood. And we get this thing that we're trying to do the same thing. We're trying to do something with illusion. We're trying to do something that hopefully is going to be good. And it helps a lot, because I think we're not in this because of the money. We're in this because we love this and because we want to have fun and we're trying to do something good. And I feel that, it helps. I like you a lot. You know that, right?
I like you a lot.
I like you a lot, man. And I like this guy. I mean, all these guys. I want to work with these guys. Can we make another movie, right now? I would love to make another movie, with all these guys.
And the second part of the question?
So, and for Sam Rockwell, what would you say is the most outstanding thing about Paco? And is there anything, like, could you feel that he's from Spain? Could you feel that Spanish passion as a director?
Yeah, well, I'm a Latino theater company called The Labyrinth in New York, so, and one of my best friends, Yul Vesquez, is Cubano, and he's, so yeah, the Latin culture has always been, I don't know, I feel close to it, but Paco's, I guess one of his best qualities is his compassion for actors, his empathy, and I think that's a big component, you know, what makes him such a special director. And his aesthetic was, I just found him to be very easy to work with. It was like effortless. We could just, you know, we had a shorthand, and we both were on the same train the whole time, just listening to Louis Prima. I mean, you know, that was it, you know.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic director.
Thank you, man. Okay.
Take it.
I didn't know. But he lost 60 pounds. So when I saw him,
Flaquito.
just round of applause, please. He looks fantastic.
What a... No, it's that this is the thing. I don't drive, and not driving in LA is a problem, you know. So I have a scooter like Marty McFly, by the way. You know, so I'm with my skateboard in LA. So that's
when you told me, I didn't believe you until I saw it.
Yeah, no, you stole it. Yeah, that was good. Okay, sorry.
Question down here.
Max, first of all, I love what you do on Trailers for Hell, so please keep that up.
Oh, thanks.
I'm
so happy that you watch it.
Great. I want to ask you about, it seems like a common theme in the last couple of your films, American Ultra Chronicle, is that people have these sort of latent qualities, latent abilities that kind of are brought to the forefront. Of course, Anna learns about the Kern and is found very good with knives and guns.
Yeah.
Tell me about that sort of theme, and why is that sort of particularly prominent in the last couple of movies that you've done?
Well, everything I write is about someone who is having trouble accepting themselves, and then through an experience changes and finds aspects of themselves that allow them to be happy. And that is primarily because if you want to have a therapy session, I was a special ed kid who didn't have many friends. I started writing, I loved writing, and through that, I slowly became happy. And so that's pretty much depressingly every one of my scripts, but in like ways, sometimes, and you have to keep in mind, this is now like 93 features I've written, and like, it's, like I just wrote a thing where a guy's in a bathysphere the whole movie, and it's one guy and something's trying to get into the bathysphere. So it's a horror movie, except if you take it apart, it's about a person who isn't happy with who they are, who gradually discovers something. So and I think that's relatable to everybody. I mean, we've all had a moment where I'm like, I don't like this person. And I think we've all had a moment where we went, hey, I can't believe I did that. Good for me. And I think those are special moments, and they deserve movies.
Question down here.
Nice.
Lasner from CBC News. The beginning of the festival, sales were kind of flat. Variety was calling it the year of let's not make a deal. Max, you were bemoaning the fate of original stories, American Ultra. But of course, Mr. Right was the bright spot in this. And so I'm wondering from Max and from Sam, how do you feel? What's it like trying to make and sell original stories right now in Hollywood?
Terrible. I mean, but you see, I tweeted this thing about original movies, and now I regret every tweet I've ever made. But what I meant was non-IP. Yeah, but people didn't take it that way.
What's that mean?
Intellectual property has become a safe bet for almost every single studio. In other words, we remake movies we've already made, we make sequels to movies we've already made, we make movies that are based on real people and books, and nothing else. And so what's interesting is every time, and you know, there are standouts. You got your Gravities, you got your Birdmans, you got that's it. I mean, there are others. I mean, Ex Machina is like a pretty good one. But for me, I always think about young writers. And I think about the kids I was in film school with who had ideas for movies that didn't exist yet. And I think about them entering a business I've now, you know, I sort of grew up peripherally around, but then I've been in for about 7 years, and I'm starting to see how hard it is. I'm actually in these rooms. I'm not speaking. I'm not a blogger. And every time an original movie doesn't hit the way they want it to, You know what I hear about when I'm pitching something? That movie. And so it's creating an ecosystem of fear, which, you know, all businesses are an ecosystem of fear. No one wants to take a risk and fail. But thank fucking Christ, Mr. Right sold. It's really funny and good, so I'm very excited.
Right. Question right behind here.
Hello, Juan Carlos Garcia from Mexico. Paco, it seems that you're very happy in LA and that you're very happy shooting in Hollywood, but do you have plans to go back to do films in Spanish in some place in Latin America? Are you writing in Spanish?
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, yeah, I'm a writer. I also write, but it was a very collaborative. I can say that word. Collaborative. Okay, whatever. Very good process to work with Max because it's very collaborative. Oh, fuck. Okay, whatever. So, yeah, I would love to come back to Spain and shoot in South America. I shot my first movie in Argentina and then Spain. I would love to, you know, it's like I miss that. But at the same time, in this movie, when we were shooting the action scenes, I was putting all these Latin elements. If you look at the first fight that he has in the parking lot, there's like a graffiti of a flamenco dancer, you know, and then he has some moves that we took kind of like tango, flamenco, you know, and that's part of me, you know. It's going to be always a part of me, and I think I always say that my country is cinema. You know, it's like I don't care what I have to go to shoot. I'll go to China. I'll go to New Orleans. I go to Spain, but I hope I can come back to Spain. And I wanted to say something about what you said for a second. About being a child and when you're a child and you don't like yourself. I was a fat kid with glasses when I was like 8, and I remember watching Singing in the Rain when I was a child and thinking this is awesome, and then watching Taxi Driver and thinking this is awesome also, and which is kind of weird. And I remember shaving my head. Now it's a joke, but I remember one day when I was a child and I just watched Singing in the Rain, and it was raining really hard, and I just came back from school, and I was dancing in the rain and going in the street lights and dancing. Imagine a fat kid in Spain. It's just pretty lucky that I didn't get like a beat up or something. And I remember being so happy and so great and so free. And you know, and now making movies is just like that. You know, I feel like a little kid. That's what I meant. So I'm so grateful that you wrote this script. There you go.
Talk a bit about the talk a bit about the setting of the movie. It was shot in New Orleans. A lot of films are shot in New Orleans for tax breaks and that, but this one actually uses New Orleans as a backdrop. I think originally your script talked about a small town somewhere, didn't it?
It was set. It was just set in a city.
Yeah.
Like Martha McKay is a woman who lives in a city, and then once. That laugh was weird. And then once we decided on New Orleans, well, it was funny because once we actually got Sam, and then Anna's in it, and I was like, I like, she's her in the closet is like my favorite moment. But you know, as a writer, your job ultimately is just to convince someone to make a movie. You ultimately have very little control over the movie. Your job is to create a piece of paper or a PDF that makes someone go, I feel like I'd maybe want to see this. And that's your whole job. So once we were actually doing it and it was New Orleans, Paco said to me, like, this is perfect. Jazz and, you remember? You were like jazz and Louis Prima, and like, it's the perfect feeling for the movie. And so I went back in, and then Paco found all these insane locations.
No, I thought it's like Louis Armstrong was born there, and I think music, it's everybody knows it's a part of New Orleans, and I think it's also funny how a movie sometimes is totally out of your control. And it's like Sam liked it, Anna liked it. We're going to New Orleans. Okay, let's go. And suddenly all these elements, they come together, and it's like an explosive cocktail, and it works. And sometimes you don't know why. You think it's going to work, but you don't know how is it going to work. But it's alive, you know, and that's what's beautiful about it. I'm saying super corny things, I think.
No, it's okay.
Okay, is that okay?
I like it. I liked the story about you when you were a little kid in the rain getting mugged. Or you didn't end up getting mugged.
Yeah, okay, but that bit to it. Okay, good. So,
you talked a bit about the music. There's music that hits you in the face right at the beginning, right throughout the whole movie. Talk about that, really. You almost use that as a character in the movie as well.
I mean, we started like shooting the scene when Sam is entering the hotel, and we shot that scene with Lou Prima dancing. Then we used all kinds of music, but yeah, I think that for me as a director, music is such an important part of movies, you know, and sometimes directors forget about sound and music. It's like, for me, a movie, it's a engine of emotion. It's like a roller coaster of emotion, and one of the best things that you can use to create emotion is music, you know. So I love those moments in movies when you get lost and just feel, not think, just feel. You know, and that's why we use so much music. I would love people to get out of the movie theater dancing, and well, that's a little insane. But yeah, it's
if you go with your boyfriend or girlfriend to this movie on a date, you should dance at some point shortly after seeing it, presuming you didn't both hate it, which you won't, or else.
Another interesting element to the visuals was your use of slow motion in certain scenes.
I mean, it was really, I mean, again, it was all because of Max. He wrote these insane things where you're like, you're supposed to shoot that. You know, it's like, and then you're like, oh shit, I gotta shoot this, what the fuck? So I was trying to do something that people hasn't seen before, or at least I was trying, and especially have fun. You know, it's like, try to do it not dark, not too greedy, and not too like boring. And I think, you know, for me, there's a shot in the movie that kind of represents the movie itself, and it's like they're maybe it's a little bit of spoiler, but they're like walking in the park, and you're with Anna, and there's a sniper on a tree branch, and he shoots at him, and then they do this little spin, this dance move, and the bullet comes like passing like really close to her, and you hear, I remember like putting a little like classic music, like kind of, and that's the movie. You know, and it's so fun to use them and the slow motion and the music and all these elements that I think I haven't seen before, and that's what makes it exciting.
And Max, the first time you saw was actually when it was complete, or
no, I was more involved in this one, right? Which was a relief. You know, this is the one I've been most involved with, other than Chronicle, which is cool. And the one I directed, which I'm sure will come out on the 5th of some month, 1 to 100 years from now.
Really, I loved it.
Thank you. I'm really proud of that flick. But yeah, it was actually, because I'm a producer on this one. Thank you, by the way, for that, guys. Take your sunglasses off. You look like you're about to beat the shit out of someone. But sorry, put them back on, Brad. I didn't mean to pick on you. But yeah, no, what's funny is that it's a very specific tone, and I don't know, who here saw American Ultra? I think that percentage is roughly the most people who've seen it in any room I've ever been in. But it's a good movie. At times it gets a little darker than the script was, and a little more violent. And the key to this movie is it can't be gruesome or violent because it's a love story, man. And so when I first saw it, I was just like, oh, this movie's good. And I like forgot to take notes, all my writer notes. And then I was just sort of with an empty thing. I was like, oh, that movie's funny. And then they were like, do you want to like change parts of it? And I was like, oh, right, I wrote that movie. Oh, no, yeah, of course, I have a lot of notes. But no, it got better and better and better, which is rare for movie edits, at least that I've seen.
And yet there are some really stark moments of violence in the movie.
It can't have no teeth.
Yeah, and speaking of teeth, Michael, the dental work that was...
Michael, can you tell us...
I had teeth. What, silver teeth? Is that way?
Well, the silver teeth, but also some of the violence and some of the scenes that you had to do with Anna, they were... How hard was it to sort of get into the energy of that and the chemistry?
Well, that was a fun scene. I was waiting for that scene from the beginning of the movie. That was like the one scene in the script that I was, every actor, I think, there's one moment in the movie you're waiting to play, and that was the scene, the turtle scene, I call it.
Who hasn't seen the movie is going to be a what? The turtle scene?
The turtle scene.
That face haunts me.
Don't give it away. Spoiler.
See that frame.
No, but I remember that morning we were like rehearsing, and it was so much fun because Anna was like, "Let's do it," you know, let's. And
Yeah,
you was
she
like,
was there
"This
to
has
play.
fun," you know.
Yeah, and we just wanted to have fun, and again, you know, his script, and he writes such fun material to play, even if it's an action scene or a gory fight scene, you can still make them fun. And that's what me and Anna and Paco wanted to do. With
And also, by the way, about the teeth, it's like, I remember we were talking about Johnny Moon, the character, how he's going to look, his hair, his ways of dress. This guy is such a fucking chameleon, and you love, like, changing yourself. I remember you sending me pictures, and I was, like, excited, but scared about it.
Well, I could tell, because I would send Paco pictures, and some he'd reply to right away, and then the ones that he didn't ever reply to, I knew it. Not gonna go with that.
I was like, oh my God, I got to show this to the producers. It's like, oh God. Because
you were sending me pictures of like David Bowie with like pink hair.
I know. But it's like, I remember when you went to the dentist and did the teeth, they were real. You know, like real silver.
Me and Paco decided that Johnny Moon should have, silver teeth or gold teeth, and we went with silver.
Yeah.
And it wasn't approved by the producers, I don't think yet, because it costs a lot to do it. So me and Paco just did it, and we
just went with it. Yeah.
And then it worked, and then our amazing producer reimbursed me after. But yeah, it's fun. That's the fun part about being an actor. You can do that stuff.
Question over here.
Parker, once again. This question is actually from Michael. You're part of another aspect of this film where you get a chance to play with a bunch of really great character actors as part of this sort of mob syndicate where some of you want to hire Sam for his services and some of you want to kill him. And you're working with great actors like James Ransone, who's one of my favorite character actors right now, and RZA. And it just seems like a lot of fun. So what was it like sort of having this own sort of like other family element that you got to work on outside of the main story and everything else that was going on?
Yeah, there's kind of two, worlds going on in this film, and two kind of camps going on. And we had the bad guy camp going on, and Sam was falling in love in his movie, and we were doing this, what do you call it? Our gang of misfits.
The dumbest mafia team of all
Dumbest
time.
mafia of all time.
It's one of the they have the worst plan that has ever been devised by anyone.
You wrote it.
No, that's the joke. The joke is that it's just the ultimate, why the fuck did you do that question? And it turns out for them about as well as you'd expect. You're great, though. Johnny in the script. We couldn't name him Johnny Hell because someone was actually named that. So we came up with Johnny Moon, which is like...
We had a list of 30 different names.
You're probably the most formidable, you and Tim Roth, of the villains, right? I mean, you're the most...
Oh yeah, we forgot about Tim. I wish Tim was here.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Tim Roth.
Tim Roth is
I was
amazing.
just going to ask about Tim and some of the other casting that...
I mean, Anson Mount was also amazing, James. And Tim, same thing. We met pretty much like in New Orleans, and he was in love with the script. And I remember it was funny because he was so, he was so trying to get the accent right and trying to get the character right, and he was very... concentrated and everything. But then when he came to dub the movie and do some lines that we had to do because of the rain in the end, it was funny because he was now watching the movie for the first time, and he was just turning around and saying, "This shit's funny." And I'm like, I know, yeah. Thank you, yeah, Tim.
That's the coolest thing I've ever seen still, is Tim Roth he has this long monologue where he talks about Sam, and he had broken it down with a pen. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
And they were writing, it looked like the Unabomber manifesto. For every line, there was a line.
That's how he memorized this? He wrote it out? Or he had it?
Well, he wrote out the line, what his character actually meant, and then the phonetic pronunciation of how to say it in English.
Oh my God.
I mean, holy shit, talk about...
the Southern dialect thing?
Yeah.
Wow. No, but he's great, Tim.
Great actor.
Yeah.
And at what point did you bring him on board?
Yeah, it's hard, but pretty much really soon, I think. It's like...
He was number 3, right?
Yeah.
Him and RZA.
Okay, we've got time for a couple more questions still, so if you have any, we'll get a microphone to you. In the meantime, Paco, you tweeted a little while ago that you were so excited to be in Toronto that you couldn't sleep.
Oh, yeah.
How does it feel then to have your film as the closing night film for the festival, the 40th Toronto Film
Oh my
Festival?
God, I don't even know what to say. It's like I come from, like I said, I come from a little town in Sevilla, in the south of Spain, and sadly, my father is working in construction. My mother is a teacher, and I never thought I would make movies, never ever, until I told you that story, right? Until one day I had a car crash when I was 17. This is a nice story. Well, a nice story. It's a nice story about a car crash. But I had a car crash when I was 17, and I remember I was driving. I mean, I don't drive, but my friend was driving the car, and then a car came from the left and hit us. And I remember everything going into slow motion. Probably that's my obsession with slow motion. And and I remember all the glasses like flying around, and the car hitting us. I was only 17, and I remember thinking, like in 1 second, thinking super quick, oh shit, I'm gonna die right now. I will never be able to make movies, and I'm gonna die at virgin. I'm gonna never be able to have sex. Like, really? Oh my God.
Priorities there were weird.
Yeah, it's like sex and movies. It's like just sex and movies. And I survived that car crash, and I got laid eventually. It took a while. But you know, for me, since then, everything's been a wild, crazy thing. Like, is this real? I'm still thinking I'm going to just wake up and be just a dream. But I'm super excited. Thank you. Yeah.
And Michael, it's been a very busy festival for you. You're in 3 films at this festival. How's the week been for you?
It's been a great week. You know, I can't complain. It's been just an amazing week being here at the Toronto Film Festival. And this one for me is the highlight. You know, this is a perfect way to end off this festival for me, and just had an amazing time. And
all right.
Being reunited with these guys, you know, it's best.
Okay, as I said, Mr.Right is a festival gala presentation. It is having its world premiere tonight at 6:30 in the Princess of Wales Theatre and at 8 o'clock at Roy Thompson Hall. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.